Trade between the world's two largest economies has been stunted for the past 18 months as the US and China traded tit-for-tat tariffs. Now, both sides say they've agreed on a truce.
We have the China deal, as you know, was just approved a little while ago. And it's, to me, it's not complicated, but that's what I do. It's a phenomenal deal. The tariffs will largely remain, 25% on $250 billion, and we'll use them for future negotiations on the Phase 2 deal. This is a very large deal, the China deal. It covers tremendous manufacturing, farming, a lot of rules, regulations, a lot of things are covered. It's a Phase 1 deal, but a lot of big things are covered.
Under the agreement, Washington suspended new tariff hikes that were scheduled to kick in on Sunday. It's also offering to cut existing tariffs on Chinese goods in half. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer says Beijing will double its purchases from American businesses over the next 2 years. But Chinese officials have not mentioned any specifics on increasing their imports from the U.S.
The two sides have agreed on the text of a Phase 1 economic and trade agreement, which has reduced market uncertainties and is of positive significance to boosting market confidence and promoting economic and trade development, both for China and the United States, and even for the world.
And many American businesses are skeptical Beijing will considerably raise purchases.
The WTO, the World Trade Organization, now is basically a toothless tiger, and there's not much recourse in the world trade courts. And so the enforceability of this agreement would need to be rather tight, and that'll be rather key.
Their skepticism isn't unfounded, as previous attempts to strike a deal had failed. But all major US and Chinese stock markets were higher on Monday, as investors hope that this time the truce will last. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, Phar Kim Beng joins us now from London. He's an economist and the chairman of Eco Strategic Insight. Welcome back to the program, Phar. Now, Donald Trump obviously loves this deal, as we heard in Mobin's story there. So does Wall Street, with the Dow hitting yet another record high on the news. But what do you think about it? Does it go far enough?
Well, if you look at what President Trump has just said, this is just Phase 1 deal, and there are a lot more to come. It means that this is purely a form of negotiating tactic between the two sides, which is China and the United States. And the trade truce cannot go far enough right now because they are being staggered and being faced in different manners in order to maximize their leverage.
Now, we obviously still don't know the finer details of the deal. We're told that we'll know more in January, just as the deal is about to be signed. But what do you think would be the most important aspects of this agreement?
I think the most important aspect of the whole trade truce or trade deal is the fact that it has a threshold that is both high and low. If this is considered from the perspective of confidence building process, this is obviously a process where two sides are trying to go for the low hanging fruits. Eventually, the market would have to understand that this trade war is primarily about the struggle between the two countries to resolve some of the most complex trade issues in the 21st century, which is high technology, theft of intellectual property, cybersecurity, so on, digital commerce, so on and so forth.
Yes, now, as you say, those issues haven't been tackled in this deal, the issues of forced technology transfers, intellectual property. But one thing that we do know was addressed in this deal was this idea that China would commit to buying more US agricultural products. The US was pushing for $50 billion worth, in fact, and that's a far cry from what they currently buy. In 2018, the Chinese bought just $9 billion of US farm goods. Do you think China will actually follow through on this, I guess buying 5 times more than they currently do?
I think China can follow through on what they agreed on. depending on whether China believes that this kind of arrangement can actually alter the behavior or the behavioral trajectory of the United States or the trade negotiators. Because ultimately, it has been a very difficult journey for China and United States over the last 18 months, because both sides know for a fact that this trade negotiation is about who gets to be the number one leading power in the 21st century. And ultimately, what the Chinese would like to do is to try to use all these carrots masqueraded as sticks to alter the political behavior of the other side, which is President Trump, because he'll be facing a re-election by the end of 2020. And most of his core supporters are coming from agricultural producing states that require China to buy a lot more from all these agricultural producing states.
Yes, now, do you get the sense, you mentioned the 2020 election there, which obviously is a high stakes event for Donald Trump. Do you get the sense that perhaps the Chinese side is just waiting to see what happens before they look at the more trickier issues of transforming China's economy?
I think the Chinese are actually doing a very delicate balancing act, because the trade deal, if it has been agreed at all, can be announced by Christmas, but it has been pushed forward to next month in order to alleviate or allay the fears of all sides that the market might misread the condition or the negotiation completely and spook everyone into assuming that there will be nothing significant or substantive to happen throughout next year. That's why the trade negotiators are announcing that the process will only be unfazed next month.
Okay, and we'll have to wait until then, until we see exactly what is in this deal. Phar Kim Beng in London, thank you again for your analysis.